Join us now as Shannon Penrod, author, speaker, coach, and mom of a 6-year-old recovering from autism, gives you this inspirational hour of hope. Hear stories from real parents whose children have made miraculous strides. Get the inside dish on therapies, treatments, supplements, and how to get funding to help you avoid them. Miracles do abound in the autism community. It's time to listen, share, laugh, and surround yourself with hope with Everyday Autism Miracles. And now, here's your host, Shannon Penrod.
Welcome to Everyday Autism Miracles. I am Shannon Penrod, your host for this next hour, which we hope will be informational and inspirational. I have to say, I'm excited about today's show because it showcases how our lives really work, that you're moving along and you think you understand what things are, and suddenly a curtain gets pulled back, and more is revealed to us. And this is a very big week for my family. We have a boy who is turning 9 years old today. I was just listening to that intro, and it says that I have a 6-year-old who is recovering from autism. Well, I now have a 9-year-old. Who is still recovering from autism, but ever so much closer than he was when we started this show. And every year when he gets a year older, we all stop and celebrate fully. And it's a time for me to really reflect back and look at where we have come from, which is so far. When he was diagnosed at 2.5, the first time that I really noticed that I thought we had a problem was at his 2nd birthday, and he had just gotten out of the hospital, and he just was a different boy. And we felt like we were losing him by inches. And then he was diagnosed at 2.5, and it was on his 3rd birthday when we stopped getting our early services and were waiting for ABA to start, that it felt like the world had tipped and that I was going to fall off and that it was all going to come to an end. I didn't know what was going to happen for us. I didn't know if my child was ever going to speak to me. And 2 weeks later, we started ABA therapy, and we started getting him back by inches, and we continue to get him back. And I know I tell you guys those stories, but I have to tell you that a lot of the time, it's almost like, when you've been in a car accident and you kind of have to relive it over and over and over again to make it real. And there is a bruise on my heart that I have to relive over and over and over again, which is that period of time after my son was diagnosed, before we knew what we were going to do to help him. It's something that motivates me every day to get up and try to help other families to find their way on this journey through autism, and be a guide to say, look, it isn't all bad. There's all kinds of hope. There are things that we can do. And again, here we are. We're getting ready to celebrate tomorrow. He's turning 9. And today on the show, we're going to be joined by some guests who have journeyed to a part of the world where I am afraid that it's the norm for a mom to sit there and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know if it's ever going to be better. And instead of having that lifted a couple of weeks later because their child gets the help, my fear is that they're stuck on that page. If you read some of the articles about what we're talking about today, we're talking about a documentary that these folks are making, in the process of making. They've already shot the documentary, but they're editing it. It's called Not Forgotten. I know that's a title that tugs at all of us, because our children were in danger of being thrown to the side and forgotten. And hopefully, if you're listening to me in the United States, hopefully that hasn't happened to you, and hopefully you're getting the help that you need. But so many of our friends and fellow parents on this journey around the world, that's not the case. And the subtitle for this film is The Untold Story of Autism in Ukraine. And I can't imagine, I've never been to the Ukraine, but these folks are going to talk to us about what the real situation is on the ground for autism in Ukraine, and why they decided to make a documentary, and why it's so important to get your help today. And you know that when I talk on this show, I talk about how on your worst day, when you're having, and we all have them, right? On your worst day, if there's something that you can do for somebody else that doesn't put your child in jeopardy and doesn't affect what you're trying to do with your child financially, then if there's something you can do and put it in the done pile and say, I helped somebody else, I reached out, I talked to another parent, I held somebody's hand, I did something, it always uplifts us. It always makes us feel better. Well, they're going to be sharing with us something that we can do today with a click of a button. It's that easy, doesn't cost you a thin dime, a click of a button that can help them to help our fellow parents and their children in Ukraine. That's a pretty awesome deal that they're going to present us with. So definitely we're going to be joined in just a minute. You want to stick around to hear how you can be of service, but I think also it's important for us to hear this story, to hear the truth of what autism is like around the world. I know that sometimes it feels like things aren't moving fast enough where we are, and we don't want to get content. We want more than what we have here too, but it's great to visit the gratitude page, isn't it? To remember how much more fortunate we have it than people who were on this journey 10 years ago in the United States or any place else in the world, and how much more fortunate we are today than we were even last year. I know that's pretty much my theme song this week. So without further ado, I want to welcome to the show Matt Blick, who is the director of photography for this film, Not Forgotten. And then in 2 more minutes after we talk to Matt, we're going to be welcoming Tom Saxon, who is one of the writers on the film. But let's start with Matt. Matt, are you there?
Yes. Hey, good afternoon.
Yes, and in some places it's evening. But Matt, Thank you for joining us. You're the director of photography and one of the editors on this film, correct?
That's correct.
Let's start out by telling the listeners where they can go to see the trailer for the film and find out more about it.
Yes, so for right now, everyone can go to notforgottenthemovie.com. And right there you can see the trailer. You can read up a lot about the documentary, what we're putting through the documentary, what we're wanting to tell our audience. You can see pictures. You can see ways to spread the word. You can sign up your email to get updates. It's all there. You can see our past interviews. Everything is right there on notforgottenthemovie.com.
Okay. And before we even bring Tom in, tell us what we can be doing to make a difference. And then we'll talk about why we need to make a difference. But tell us right out the gate what we could do today to help you out. Definitely.
That's a great question. The first thing and kind of the most prominent thing right now is we need your votes. We are in a competition right now to receive anywhere between $10,000 to $50,000 towards our documentary. And the way that happens is we're in a competition where we're against 29 other causes out there, great causes, and basically it's our job to get the most votes. And for first place, you'll get $50,000. For second to sixth place, you'll get $10,000. Well, what we need everyone that's out there that sees what we're trying to do here with this project, that they see the need for translation of books, that they see the need for this documentary to be produced, that they can go to the website and they can vote every day. And that's important, that you can vote once per day. And a lot of people don't realize that, but yes, you can vote once per day. And that's really key. We need your votes. This finishes on June 30th, so we're down to less than 30 days, and we're in 8th place. Like I said, 6th place is the cutoff. So we really need those votes in. We'd be very grateful for anyone that gets on there, helps vote, helps really push us up to the top.
Okay, so they can go to www.notforgottenthemovie.com, and from there you'll get instructions about, you have to click another button, you're going to have to log into Facebook, but that's really all you have to do, guys. It's not a big long involved thing, and then once you do it once, you can go back every day and you don't have to keep logging into Facebook. And all you've done is chosen this particular cause. First prize is $50,000, and then if you're second place through 6th, it's $10,000. Is that correct, Matt?
That's correct, yes. Mm-hmm.
And so for $10,000, you can finish this film and let the world know about these families in the Ukraine. But for $50,000, you could also get some books translated and make a real difference.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the key part is just getting any of the money amounts will help us to finish this project. We'll get it completely done, and we'll be able to put it out to the masses. If we get to $50,000, not only will we get the documentary finished, but we'll be able to start translating textbooks into their language so that we can get the information into their hands.
Okay, so that's wonderful, and I encourage all of you. I'm telling you, it'll take you a total of less than a minute, and you will feel like you've done something, and you will make a difference in the world. And how fabulous is that? I also want to welcome to the show right now Tom Saxon, who is one of the writers for this documentary. Tom, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good
Tom,
afternoon.
so wonderful to have you here with us today. Tell our listeners, and we've only got a couple of minutes before the break, but give us a really quick vision of what autism in the Ukraine is like right now.
Well, autism in Ukraine right now is pretty bleak. There are very few textbooks for professionals. There is no support system for parents. And as 10 years ago, the diagnosis of autism was forbidden by the state, so you couldn't even get help or even get a correct diagnosis. So parents are very, very, very isolated across the whole nation of Ukraine, and they are not receiving any help. And the professional psychiatrists, psychologists, really do not have the proper information to begin to teach others how to help a child with autism.
Okay. We're going to talk more in the next segment about the nuts and bolts of what you saw and what's included in the documentary, the interviews that you did. We're going to take a quick break, but I want to remind everybody to go to www.notforgottenthemovie.com. Follow the instructions. You will have to log onto Facebook one time, but you can make a difference around the world. Stick with us. If you want to call in, it's 877-864-4869. Again, that's 877-864-4869. We're talking with Matt Blick and Tom Saxon, filmmakers for the documentary Not Forgotten, the untold story of autism in Ukraine. Stick with us.
Knowing there is hope is more than half the battle. Stay tuned as we explore more everyday autism miracles with Shannon Penrod. And we'll be back right after these. Booyah! That's the word uttered when you know you have the upper hand. Or you're the winner. Well, now we have the Booyah Radio Hour with Martin Pressey. Tuesdays at 9, 8 Central on TogiNet.com. Martin's show is all about helping speakers and authors find their niche, create their brand, and achieve massive success. Each week, Martin will interview guests from around the world who have achieved tremendous success as speakers and authors. You'll find out who they are, what they do, and how you can follow in their footsteps to achieve incredible results. Guests will come from around the world of business, entertainment, finance, the arts, and sciences. Nothing is off topic. No subject too taboo. We'll share valuable information as well as huge laughs as we discover the ups and downs of being a successful speaker and author. The Booyah Radio Hour with Martin Pressey. Tuesdays at 9, 8 Central on TogiNet.com. Get ready for Officer Radio. Every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, only on Officer.com. It's powered by the worldwide resources of Officer.com and hosted by Editor-in-Chief of Officer.com and 30-year law enforcement veteran Frank Borelli. Officer.com is your source for the latest news, trends, and issues facing the law enforcement community, which change almost daily. New regulations, new things to know about that affect all in law enforcement. Join us each week as Officer Borelli and his guests examine, dissect, and discuss the issues facing our industry. Call in live and join the conversation to get your voice heard. For more law enforcement news and more about the show, go to Officer.com. You can even find us on Facebook and Twitter. Then join us live every Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern, only on Officer.com. Welcome back to Everyday Autism Miracles, the show dedicated to showing you that life after an autism spectrum diagnosis can be joyful, happy, and filled with hope. And now back to Everyday Autism Miracles and your host, Shannon Penrod.
Welcome back to Everyday Autism Miracles. I'm Shannon Penrod, and our special guests, plural, today, we're talking to Matt Blick, who's the director of photography, and Tom Saxon, who's one of the writers from the documentary Not Forgotten. The subtitle is The Untold Story of Autism in Ukraine. And we were just hearing from Tom before the break about how bleak it is in Ukraine. I have to say, Tom, one of the most shocking things I have ever heard is that 10 years ago, as recent as 10 years ago, they were not allowed, they weren't legally allowed to diagnose autism. Is that true?
That's true. They were afraid of the diagnosis, and they really didn't understand correctly exactly how to diagnose a child. So when the word autism was used, it was usually something the state medical society would not accept. So this is because they were just uninformed, and the medical community really did not understand the entire spectrum of autism that we here in the West understand much more than we did 25 years ago.
So
there was a great... Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, so if a child was exhibiting symptoms that any place else in the world would have been autism, did they just ignore it, or were they treating them in other ways? What was happening?
Well, everyone was tossed into the same basket. If you were diagnosed as mongoloid, or you were diagnosed as with retardation, or you were diagnosed with autism, which they couldn't do, everyone got put in the same room and dealt with. And then, but most people do not send their children to school because there's no place for them. There's no help for them. And so probably about 95% of these children stay home with their parents their entire life, without instruction, without help, without support.
And that's what's happening right now.
That's what's happening right now.
Which is frightening to me as a parent,
yes,
and unacceptable.
We got involved with this in a school we went to, and found the handicapped classroom, and found out that there were 12 children with autism in this classroom, and 2 teachers. And the teachers were just kind of keeping peace in the room and not giving any instruction. And that's when we went back with Dr. Sandra Redden, who is a child psychologist who specializes in autism, who is my friend. She started teaching these teachers things about sequencing, things about teaching nonverbal children how to ask for more with sign language, and also she helped them to understand more of how to deal with children in a classroom setting. So we went there 3 or 4 years to help these teachers.
And we should mention that we're going to be joined by Sandra Redden in the next segment. But Tom, tell me, I mean, you weren't there. Why did you go to Ukraine to begin with? Let's start there.
Well, I graduated my 3rd daughter out of high school. My wife and I sold all our possessions, and we went to work with a church that was in Ukraine to help them. And we got involved with this school, and I started asking my friends from America to come over and help.
But we should note that when you first went, though, Tom, you weren't going there to look for autism. It found you, correct?
It found me. Although I have some experience with autism in my past, I wasn't looking for it. But then all of a sudden, it became an exposed secret of Ukraine.
Yeah.
So we were really not there to work with autism, but now that's our primary motivation for going in and out of Ukraine now, is to help parents and to meet with doctors and to meet with child psychologists to help them in any way we can. They lack information. That's our primary goal, is to find the free flow of information from the West into Eastern Europe. And the second is to find some sort of medium where parents can find support and help for their children. I don't think that the condition of the state where they would help parents is going to change anytime soon. But we can do something to help parents because it is pretty bleak. I'd like to share one story if I could, if you have time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We went to, Matt and I went from the north to the south of Ukraine, going into people's homes who were there with their children with autism. We went into a small town of 200,000. We interviewed 6 sets of parents. Now, 200,000 is not a large city.
No.
And no one knew each other of the 6 and there are many more with families with autism in this city, and they didn't know each other. That's really sad. There was no support whatsoever. We went to see one woman who, when we got there, her son was really very loud, 10 years old, very overweight, and she is there alone. Her husband had left her over their child. Their son doesn't live with her anymore. She's there by herself in a 2-room apartment, and this child has not put a stick of clothing on for the last 3 years, will not wear any clothes whatsoever.
Wow.
She is stuck there with him. He's very violent. He's nonverbal. And she gets a friend to come over when she needs to go to the grocery store or when she needs to go out. That is a hopeless situation. And our heart goes out to her because there is more that can be offered to her and to her son if we can get to them and with the right information and the right support.
Absolutely. And I want to remind, if somebody's just tuned in, that there is something that you can do today, and it doesn't involve opening your wallet. How fabulous is that? All you have to do is go to www.notforgottenthemovie.com. There'll be instructions on that first page for you to click to vote for this project. They're in a contest right now. If they get 1st through 6th place, there will be enough money to make this film and make a difference. If they get 1st place, of course, they'll get enough money to begin translating books to help people to get information, which, when things are bleak, you got to start from the bottom up, right? And just getting the information at this point could be life-changing to these families. Matt, I wanted to ask you, how on earth, here you are, you're living in the United States and you're a filmmaker, how on earth did you get hooked up with making a documentary about autism in the Ukraine? Was this part of your plan?
No, it actually wasn't. I had gotten to know Tom real well through an internship down in Birmingham, Alabama, where Tom lives, and just really, became friends with him. And, over time, he's just like, you know what, Matt? He's like, I really want to do this documentary, and I want you to shoot it. And I was like, Tom, that's awesome. Let's do it. And he's like, I want to do a full feature one. I said, okay, that's awesome. Let's do this. Let me run some figures. Let me do my research. Let me find out what's doable and whatnot. And we found out that his church that he's a part of is sending a group, which they do every year, to Ukraine to work with the school over there. And I said, well, let's just go with them. Let's shoot a shorter version, 30-minute documentary. Let's kind of test waters. Let's focus on Ukraine first, and then we can do Eastern Europe. Mm-hmm. I was busy with my own work. I have my own production company. I do commercials and documentaries and promo videos, and so, like you said, it really wasn't on my radar. But I knew Tom. I knew his passion. I knew his just his heart for the children over there. And I was like, Tom, let's do this. Let's see where God takes us. And so we went over and we got the interviews, and it's amazing just the stories that we heard, just the story Tom told. It's heartbreaking. I thought it was just heartbreaking enough being in our first interview, just being with a young couple. I believe, if I remember correctly, the husband was a reporter and the wife was a graphic designer, and they had suddenly had to move into the bigger city to get their daughter help, and they were struggling to make ends meet. And I thought that was heartbreaking, just to see how they were doing everything they could to get help for their daughter, and then to come to this other mother in this other city that in Cherkasy that we came to. I mean, that was a rough day. It was not a fun day. It was a struggle. We were just like, how do you move forward from this? And so it was just, it really, and I bet Tom could say the same thing, but after that trip, it really affected us. It really changed our mindset on how we looked at autism. I know for myself, maybe more so than Tom. Tom's been around it more, but just, the need that there is over there. Over here, there's a need, but we have communities, we have centers, we have people that we can get to know, we can be a part of things. We have internet, we have radio, we have TV, we have things like your show that we can listen into, we can learn things. Over there, they don't have that. And so
Matt, I'm going to stop you there because we're going to talk more about this. We have to take a break. And when we come back, we're also going to be joined by Sandra Redden, who they were referring to, the developmental psychologist, who is going to also talk to us about what she saw over there. But I want to let you know that if you want to call into the show and ask any questions of these filmmakers, you can, 877-864-4869. Again, that's 877-864-4869. And we don't want you to forget to vote, and you can vote every day until the 30th of the month. You just go to www.notforgottenthemovie. You have to spell it all out, .com. When you get there, there'll be a place that says vote for us. You want to follow the instructions. It's very simple. All you have to do is log on to Facebook, and then you only have to do that the first time, and then each day you go back, you just click the button and it's all cool. So by doing that, you help them to get the funding to finish this film, and hopefully if we get them enough votes that they can start to translate these books and get some help for these families. Participate. It takes the click of a button. Stick with us, and we'll be back with these gentlemen and Sandra Redden. Stick with us.
Knowing there is hope is more than half the battle. Stay tuned as we explore more everyday autism miracles with Shannon Penrod. And we'll be back right after these.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for you to be a rock star. Get ready to rock with Rock Talk and Craig Deswald, and learn how to achieve rock star status in your industry. Every Tuesday afternoon at 2, 1 Central on TogiNet.com. Craig Deswald is the creator of the Rockstar System for Success. Craig will share easy tips and strategies on how entrepreneurs and businesses can use outside-the-box marketing strategies to stand out from the competition. Each high-energy show will feature interviews with celebrity rock stars as well as business rock stars. For more on Craig, the show, and the Rockstar Marketing Boot Camps, check out the website, CraigDeswald.com, so you can learn how to be perceived as an expert and celebrity in your field, so more people come to you to buy your services and products. Then, get ready to be a rock star with Rock Talk and Craig Deswald. Tuesday afternoons at 2, 1 Central on TogiNet.com. Friday Nightcap Radio, 10 p.m. to midnight with Christy and Laura on TogiNet.com. Broadcasting from their scrappy kitchen in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. They've got nothing better to do than riff with their favorite Brooklyn-based independent vendors, artists, bands, bartenders, foodies, weirdos, and news stories. Featuring the live studio audience. Betty Rehab and the Gay Boys. Sex and dating commentary with the Impersonals. The Unknown Political Masked Man. And people who kinda know stuff. Stream on after your long week. Brooklyn's variety show of madcap intellectualism. Friday Nightcap Radio with Laura and Christy, 10 to midnight Eastern on TogiNet.com. Radio like you've never seen.
Welcome back to Everyday Autism Miracles, the show dedicated to showing you that life after an autism spectrum diagnosis can be joyful, happy, and filled with hope. And now back to Everyday Autism Miracles and your host, Shannon Penrod.
Welcome back to Everyday Autism Miracles. We're talking about a very important subject today, autism really around the world, but specifically in Ukraine. And our special guests today are Matt Blick, who is the director of photography for the film Not Forgotten, Tom Saxon, who's one of the writers, and we're joined now by Dr. Sandra Redden, who is also one of the writers on the film. We were mentioning earlier that she is a developmental psychologist, and she is helping to get this film done. Dr. Redden, thank you for being with us.
Yes, thank you.
And Tom was saying that he went over the first time and he saw this classroom and decided to bring you with him back to the Ukraine. And what, from your professional point of view, what did you see on that first trip that you went?
Oh, on the first trip, I think it was just very eye-opening. What I saw was children with autism who were just very much like children in the U.S., but who had teachers who loved them and were willing to do what they could, but just did not have the resources in terms of financial or in terms of being taught specifically about autism. And that first trip especially, we met a number of parents who just had so many questions and so much love for their children, but no place to go for the answers.
And just help us to understand, because, you know, we, as a parent of a child here in the United States, we are always talking about how we need to do more, but what year could we compare and say, okay, the Ukraine is on like 1964 of how we were in the United States? What year would you compare and say that that's where they are?
I would definitely say that Ukraine is somewhere in the 60s. Compared to where we are in the States. And while I agree there's a lot more work to do in the States, I think that Ukraine and professionals and parents and others still have a feeling of when an autism diagnosis is made or living with a child with autism, that it really is a shameful thing that we need to keep the child secluded or hidden, and that's certainly not where we are in the States. And I think in terms of their understanding, in terms of knowledge of treatment, it may be a little further along than that, but I think they're just even beginning to scratch the surface of understanding even some very basic things about types of therapy such as ABA or behavioral analysis.
And I don't know, Tom, if this is a question for you, but this stigma of having a child with autism, is it that they feel like it's some sort of curse? Why is it such a horrible stigma that they need to keep it quiet and keep the child secluded?
Well, I think that, you have to really understand the post-Soviet mindset that these children with any special needs before perestroika, before the wall came down, were usually given up to the state because they were forced to do that, because they didn't want anything to be imperfect. They wanted to keep these children out of the limelight in any way. And so there were many, many more institutions than there are today for that, and those were pretty bad. So I think that in the whole Soviet mindset, it's based on shame a lot, and I think that parents feel ashamed that their child is not like every other child. They have just not been informed. They've not been helped. They've not been nurtured in the fact that their child can grow in their autism and can progress in their autism. They're just hopeless at this point.
And so, Sandra, talk to us a little bit about, and when you meet with these families now and you make them aware of the fact that there is some help and some hope, do they readily accept that? Are they excited about the prospect of getting some help, or are they reticent and still saying, "Oh no, this is the way it is, and we're stuck with this"?
I think that I encounter a little of both of those mindsets. I think every parent, as I've gotten to talk with them, I think the one thing that has been so amazing to me is the questions those parents ask are exactly the same questions that parents ask that I meet with here in the States. And I think that as we begin to talk to parents and educate parents, while they do become excited and they're ready to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak, I think the difference in Ukraine is that they don't know where to go.
Yeah.
If we were to as we do educate a parent here, there's although there's always room for more options, they are able to do research through the internet or talking with other parent groups or even other professionals and figure out where they want to plug in and to be involved and to pursue more of. And so while I think the parents in Ukraine want to do that, they are still at a point they're not. I think they have so many basic questions that aren't being answered, and because of some of, I think, the post-Soviet mentality that Tom's talking about, it, as far as I can understand their culture, I think they do tend to say, well, we don't know what to do, and we don't know how to fix it, and we don't have anybody to help us, so we don't know what to do.
Yeah. But do you feel, again, as a professional, did you have an opportunity to talk to other doctors? Do you feel like the doctors are ready for more information?
I didn't. The only person, although I didn't get to talk with her directly, I did Skype in with the interview that Tom and Matt did with the head of the Ukrainian Psychiatric Association. And I do believe from speaking with her, yes, they are ready. I don't know that trickles down to the everyday local doctor.
Right.
There.
Right. But if we could get some books that are translated, we can begin to help these families.
Yes, definitely. That would be, I think, such a great thing for these families.
And how many times have you been over there, Dr. Redden?
I have traveled there twice.
And is it difficult to leave? Do you feel like you're leaving people behind that are desperate?
Yes. If you could probably ask Tom, every time I go there, I tend to spend a week in tears, although I don't really cry very much. But I do feel like I feel extremely frustrated because there is such a need from the educators, from the parents who just have so many questions, and there's just not the resources there. So I find it extremely hard but gratifying to go, and I find it extremely hard to leave knowing there's so much more work to be done.
Yeah. And Tom, the same question to you. When you come back, what is it like for you?
Oh, I am just with Dr. Redden. I cry some. I think of them often. Every child that's in this schoolroom that we had worked with 3 years, every child's picture is on my wall in my office. Mm. And I live thinking about how to help these children and how to help the parents and how to help the educational system. And I think that it's a long walk in the same direction that will help this country. And once we get this going in Ukraine, it will spill over into other Eastern European countries very easily. So we're not looking at this as just trying to fix one little problem. we have bigger plans with this, and it's a long process. It's going to take many, many years. But we're all in this together and want to make a difference for children with autism in Ukraine.
Thank you. And we have to mention again that if you're listening to this and you want to be able to help today, you can with just a click of a button by going to www.notforgottenthemovie. You have to spell it all out, notforgottenthemovie.com. You'll see a button there that says vote for us. You click it and you'll have instructions. You'll need to log into Facebook, but only the first time. And you can vote once a day up until June 30th. If they come in 1st through 6th, 2nd through 6th, they'll get enough money to finish the documentary, which will really help to shed light and raise other funds for this area. If they get first place, not only will they be able to finish the documentary, but they'll be able to begin translating books to be able to help these children and these families. So, Tom, talk to me in terms of, I know there's in the trailer, there's one family that says they haven't even told their whole family that their child has autism. Did you encounter that a lot?
Oh, yes. This is, they keep the children hidden because it's, like I said, it's a shame-based society. And so,
but not even family, to not even tell your whole family.
Not even family. Well, every interview we had with parents, someone in the family said, give this child up. Send it to the state. And so you can understand when there is no support in your family for keeping a special needs child and you love that child, then you're going to keep that child hidden.
Yeah.
Because of many reasons.
Okay, we're going to talk more about that when we come back, but we do have to take a break. I want to remind everybody that you can call in at 877-864-4869 if you have a question for any of our guests. Again, that's 877-864-4869. And again, the website that you can go to is www.notforgottenthemovie.com. You go there, click the button. It's going to take you to another site. It's going to ask you to log into Facebook the first time. Once you do that, that's the only time you have to do it. After that, you can vote once a day and just go there and click the button and you'll have done that. But please do that. You're going to feel better for having done that, and it will have a long reach of an impact. And how often can you have that happen? Just click a button and share it with others on Facebook, because this is an important thing. We have to step up for others, just like people stepped up for us here a decade and more ago to help our children. Stick with us. We're going to be back for one final segment in just a couple of minutes.
Knowing there is hope is more than half the battle. Stay tuned as we explore more everyday autism miracles with Shannon Penrod. And we'll be back right after these.
Get ready for Officer Radio. Every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, only on Officer.com. It's powered by the worldwide resources of Officer.com and hosted by Editor-in-Chief of Officer.com and 30-year law enforcement veteran Frank Borelli. Officer.com is your source for the latest news, trends, and issues facing the law enforcement community, which change almost daily. New regulations, new things to know about that affect all in law enforcement. Join us each week as Officer Borelli and his guests examine, dissect, and discuss the issues facing our industry. Call in live and join the conversation to get your voice heard. For more law enforcement news and more about the show, go to Officer.com. You can even find us on Facebook and Twitter. Then join us live every Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern, only on Officer.com.
Girlfriended is on TogiNet. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, with your hosts Patty Wyatt and Lisa Jernigan. This show is your chance to share, learn, laugh, and connect with other women. The Girlfriended principle was born out of loss.
Lisa had recently had her mother pass away from cancer, and my mom was murdered. A man just walking into a room and started a 23-second shooting spree.
I think one of the things we both realized going through those tragedies that you can be extremely okay and be extremely sad.
Check out Girlfriended.com. And then be a part of Girlfriended, the radio show. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central.
You know, your boyfriend or your husband or whatever, they don't totally understand that emotional side to them like another woman does. And I think that's so important just to have somebody that you go, she gets me.
Check out the website, girlfriended.com. Don't miss Girlfriended with Patty Wyatt and Lisa Jernigan. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to Everyday Autism Miracles, the show dedicated to showing you that life after an autism spectrum diagnosis can be joyful, happy, and filled with hope. And now back to Everyday Autism Miracles and your host, Shannon Penrod.
Welcome back to Everyday Autism Miracles. Want to let you know that next week, if we are well behaved and played our cards right, we are expecting to have Joey Travolta from Inclusion Films with us. A very exciting guest to have on the show, and that will be really cool. We'll talk more about that next week. But our guests today are filmmakers that are in the midst of making a documentary called Not Forgotten, the untold story of autism in Ukraine. We have with us Matt Blick, who is the director of photography and editor. We have Tom Saxon, who's one of the writers. And we also have Dr. Sandra Redden, who is one of the writers as well and a consultant on the film because she is a developmental psychologist. So, Matt, I have a question for you in terms of you went over there, you're a filmmaker, and you're taking these pictures, and you said you were changed, that you were really changed. What is there any image in particular that really stuck with you about autism in Ukraine?
That's a great question. I mean, there was many images that we captured that I just saw, just by being there, that really, stuck with me as we filmed this project. But and each one had a different meaning in a way. One that really, really kind of stuck with me, and that's why I chose it for kind of the poster and kind of a lot of the images through this whole project is the little boy running to get a ball outside of one of his buildings. It kind of has that distance feel. It shows that how kind of forgotten in the way they are, but not forgotten. And that's why the title's there, because we're showing that in Ukraine, they may push them back, they may try to hide them, but we want to show them that they're not forgotten, that we can bring help to them, not in that way, but that we can help them learn we can help teach the parents, and just, I mean, there's other images that came across, seeing how which is images you may have seen, the hurt the parents felt, the hopelessness the parents felt, but also within the image, you saw how much the parents cared for their child. And just as Sandra said as well, it's the same over here in the U.S.
I think it's really important to bring up, and I hope people go to www.notforgottenthemovie.com and watch the trailer, which is quite lovely. You did a great job with that, Matt. But one of the things that was really striking to me is that as I was watching it, and it seems like it's not shot in sepia, but it almost seems like it is, and everything seems old school, old world, and you feel like you're watching something that got made 30, 40, maybe even 50 years ago. You look at the furniture, you look at the clothing, and it seems very far away. And I had to keep reminding myself, this is not far away. This is now. This is happening right now. These are people who feel exactly the same way about their children that we all feel about ours. They're facing the same challenges that we are, except they don't have anything. And I don't know about the rest of you, that does not sit well with me. That I always tell parents, you've got to advocate for your child. It's your responsibility. You must do that. But we can't leave anybody behind. We just can't. And here's an opportunity for us to click a button and help these families. So I hope that everyone will, because I haven't been there. I haven't seen what you guys have seen, but this doesn't sit well with me. I can't look in my child's eyes tomorrow as he turns 9 and know all the progress that he has, and know that if he had been born in Ukraine, we would not be there.
Well, Shannon, if I can say that, as I was, I think your points very well made, because although in many ways it is a world away, Miles, and it is a world away, in time, as I was sitting there, I remember maybe the second day of being there on our first trip, I turned to Tom and I said, Tom, I might as well be at home because I'm answering the exact same questions of parents of children in Ukraine as I am in the U.S. And it really hit me that we are very different, but very, very much the same. And this is an opportunity through this movie and through these votes to make a difference. The other thing that sticks out to me is the first time I got to talk to one of the parents. I actually did it with another gentleman who was on our team who has a son with autism who is, I believe, was 9 at the time. And through a translator, the parents told us that the child had never been outside of the house except to go to church and except to go to the grandmother's house. And this man who was with us and I just sat there and literally began weeping. Him for the same reason that you're saying. If he could not imagine his child being that, when his child has had so many opportunities and therapies and interventions, while the child in Ukraine had not had any opportunity. And this is what it's about, bringing those opportunities to the Ukraine and other countries.
And Matt, what will happen if we don't all get off of our tukuses and click the button? What will happen to this film?
It won't get finished. And that's the key here, is that if we don't get one of those donation spots, we won't finish the project. It won't be able to be finished. We need one of these spots, donation spots, in order to finish this project.
So imagine, if you will, all of you who are listening, these people are living this story that has not been told. They've shot the footage. That's already been done, but they need to finish editing it. They don't have to be in first place to get that. They just have to be in 6th place. And right now they're in 8th place. And it literally is going to come down to single-digit votes. And you need to make a decision right now about which side you want to be on. Honestly, I mean, I'll resort to guilting people, but you need to be pushing the button whenever you can. It only takes a couple of seconds to do that. Go to www.notforgottenthemovie. Follow the instructions. You will need to log onto Facebook in order to do it, but only the first time. And then every other time, you'll just be able to click the button and be able to vote. Tom, what would you like for our viewers to know more than anything as we get close to the end of the show here?
That autism is worldwide, and the West, I would say Europe and the Americas, Canada, has a wealth of information, a wealth of research, a wealth of understanding, and it is our desire to get it to those countries who have been isolated. I can see this going into countries that we have not even stepped into yet. Yeah. So I'm hoping that when we start this effort to get information, the free flow of information from the West into the East, it will all start to help at some level, either in education or with parental support and help with their children.
Wonderful. And Dr. Redden, what would you like to say to our viewers in closing?
I think the most important thing is that this is an extremely simple way to make an extremely huge impact on the world of autism. And yes, we are able to do so much here in the States and still have so far to go. And we know, for those of us who are in the autism world personally or professionally, we know what a difference and how far our children have come because of the intervention. And I think remembering that these children have nothing in terms of intervention and that these are precious lives who are not getting what they need. And we've seen so many successes in the States and some very small ones beginning over there, but there's so much more for these precious children that are needed. So go out and vote for them.
Absolutely. And Matt, final words?
Yeah, I would just like to say, with the way our economy is, a lot of people are having a hard time, wanting to donate. This is one chance that you can donate without having to open up your wallet. You can go simply on by giving us 30 seconds of your time each day. I've known a ton of people who've gone online. They've said, we do it as our morning routine. When we get up, we make our coffee, we log in, and we vote. We do it every day. And it's 30 seconds. That's all we're asking of your time. It's free, just like you said, Shannon, and it will do a world of a difference.
And I think, honestly, you'll all feel better. I want you to stop for a moment. I said at the beginning of the show, I remember those weeks after my son turned, the 2 weeks after my son turned 3 before we started therapy, where I felt like the world had tilted and I didn't know what was going to happen to us. And that is the everyday reality for these parents. I want you to do it for the kids, but I also want you to do it for the parents because they all deserve it. And you will feel better if you do that. I want to thank Matt and Tom and Dr. Redden for being with us, and good luck. We can't wait to hear that you guys have won at least one of those top 6 spots. Make sure that you call us and let us know. And thank you for all the work that you do, and we'll look forward to hearing about good things happening in the Ukraine. And
thank you.
Thank you so much. Goodbye, Tom. Goodbye, Matt. Goodbye, Sandra. I just want to remind everybody that once again, you can vote by going to www.notforgottenthemovie.com. Do it now. Don't let yourself forget. You will feel better. Once you get there, there's a place where it says vote for us. You can vote there. You will have to log on to Facebook, but only the first time. After that, you won't have to do that. As I mentioned, next week, we'll have Joey Travolta from Inclusion Films. Boy, you guys, this is such an inspirational, and of course, Joey Travolta, John Travolta's brother. But really an amazing man who has been working with our kids for many years and is changing the way in which we have our children find jobs in the film industry. So a really wonderful thing. I thank you so much for being with us here on a weekly basis. Remember that if you want to see me more, you can see me on Autism Live every morning, 9 to noon Pacific Standard Time by going to www.autism-live.com. Again, that's www.autism-live.com. But today, more than anything, what I want you to do is step up, be heard, vote for Not Forgotten the film so that they can get this film done, and for heaven's sake, get some help to those families. I want to thank all of our guests today, and especially our wonderful producer, Sabrina. I want to thank the TogiNet family for giving us this time, because nobody else does, right, to talk about autism. We'll see you next week. Until then, bye-bye.